Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Russ, K5TUX, Cheryl, W5MOO, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 513 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. We're finally back after all of my internet problems and everybody being out of town and all kinds of craziness going on. Things seem pretty solid right now. Knock on, well, I guess there is some wood in this room somewhere. So, but anyway, yeah, we're back. So let's go ahead and get to it, although our house is still chaos. So it's just me still. So Cheryl W5MOO is not going to be joining us, but this is our deep dive, and we're going to get into our deep dive shortly. But before we do that, we'll introduce the two of us. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right. So in the chat over the past couple of weeks, I guess, we have been hearing about some new folks who are newly licensed and getting into the hobby and learning about Linux and all that kind of thing, which is great because that's what we're all about. And the topic of DragonOS came up, which is a ham radio related or adjacent operating system. And the last time we talked about this, if I remember correctly, was in episode number 375. So that was some time back. And I recall we did not deep dive it or anything. We just mentioned it and so on. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. One thing about, I think originally it was not based on Ubuntu. I kind of gather it was based on Raspbian probably because it was sort of out there as a single board computer distro, but based on Ubuntu Jammy. You're changing the notes
because you're wrong.
Well, the one I downloaded was Focal.
I know it says Fossa or Focal on the image, but it is definitely Jammy. Yes, it's definitely Jammy.
It's called Focal. Well, first of all, it's hosted on not SourceForge. Yes, SourceForge.
Yes.
So
Forge.
Right. So obviously,
Forge
for that. Where's my terminal window? There it is. Okay, let's see.
Well, yeah, first thing I did was like a uname TAC A, and I was like, oh, it's 2204.
Oh, yeah, 6.2. Yeah, that's clearly 2204. So
it's definitely jammy. The sources are all jammy too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's jammy, whatever. But anyway, originally I don't think it was based on Ubuntu at all because I think it was released as a single board computer distro. But now since single board computers like the Raspberry Pi 3s and 4s can run Ubuntu, they switched over to run Ubuntu. So it's actually running the LTS of Ubuntu, Jammy, not Focal, like I said. So,
what are we talking about? I'm sorry, we took you off topic right away.
No, I said DragonOS. I mentioned it.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Yeah. I lost that part. Sorry. We were talking about the new people and stuff like that, and I started changing the notes in the middle of your conversation, and I missed what you were actually saying.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I mentioned DragonOS because I said we had last talked about it in episode 375.
Oh, yes. I did remember catching the end of that.
Many moons ago. So now we're going to...
It's been a while.
Yes. And so we've both tried it recently, me today, and I guess Bill today as well. And Bill installed it using virtualization of some kind. Which one did you use?
QEMU.
QEMU, excellent. I actually installed it on bare metal using a tool that I'm not going to mention on this episode because we're going to talk about it on another episode because it's a very cool tool. So
yes, I saw that tool. That looked pretty neat.
It is very neat, and it's
I'm going to take it to. I'm going to take that to Linux Fest Northwest for sure as my demo copy stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Just make sure you have a big USB stick.
I always bring a big stick.
That's right. Walk tall and carry a big stick. Brings a new meaning. What was that from? Like Walker Texas Ranger or something? Anyway, so So we're not mentioning that tool, but we will mention it on the next episode. And so I installed it on bare metal, basically off a USB stick. And first of all, let's just talk about Ubuntu Jammy in the Lubuntu version, which is what DragonOS is based on. So it's using the LX Qt desktop, which is fine. It's a little, Web 1.0. Kind of looks like Windows 7, Windows 98, Windows 7-ish, I guess.
Yeah.
So certainly familiar to most people. And underneath the desktop manager is SDDM, which is also the desktop manager that Arch uses, which is kind of interesting. Usually, I don't know if that's true of all LXQt. Does LXQt always use SDDM? I doubt it necessarily, but
I haven't used it enough to know that.
I don't know that either. I figured it would use like GDM or LightDM or something like that, but it doesn't use SDDM. And apparently it can support Wayland, but by default it uses Xorg X. So I'm going to call that a plus. It's pretty lightweight. I'm running it on an Atom-based machine, and it seems to work pretty well. Certainly works way better than Garuda did, because Garuda uses KDE and it's very heavyweight. But I liked it. The install, if you've ever installed Ubuntu, looks just like installing Ubuntu. I assume on the virtualized version it was the same.
Oh yeah, looks exactly the same. Yep.
It does allow you to create a user up front because
Which
it's
is standard now.
Yep. Not like one of those ones where you have to log in as some crazy user like HamPi or PyStar or something that's predefined. I'm not sure that that's not the case in the SBC version of it. I would assume I assume Ubuntu is just Ubuntu, but I did not get a chance to run it on a Pi. So
I don't have the Pi to do that on either.
I have the Pi and I was going to do it, but I just didn't have the time. So basically, it's just a distribution that's LXQt on top of Ubuntu Jammy. And other than the mildly annoying backup, for some reason, when ham radio distributions come about, the wallpaper art tends to be a poor choice, generally speaking. So,
hey now,
except for
ours is fine.
Except for ours, of course. But it's of course very easy to change. Other than that, no problems with the install. Worked really well. And the network manager, I had to play with that a little bit because I had to set static IP address on my computer. It has both NetPlan and Network Manager installed, but it's using Network Manager, which is easy enough from the GUI perspective. If you're getting down into the command line and you're not familiar with how Network Manager works, it's going to take a little twiddling of knobs, but it's not too bad. One nice thing I noticed about it was that the default user, whatever default user you create, is actually in all the groups it needs to be in, like Dialout and Sudo and BlugDev and even Direwolf, because Direwolf is installed. And if you're going to be doing any KISS mode TNC work and stuff like that, you've got to be in that group. You're also in Samba Share, but I didn't explore any of the Samba stuff, so I don't know what all is involved there or what it's doing. Is it running Samba? I guess I could find out. I'm connected to it. Let's see. SMB. Nope. Samba is not startup.
And SDDM is the recommended display manager for LXQt. So
for LXQt, excellent, good deal. I tried to tweak SDDM to get Barrier to start on boot, but apparently my SDDM foo is not good, and I was not able to do that, so I have to run it manually, which kind of sucks. I know there's a way to do it. SDDM is one of the easier ones to do startup scripting with, but apparently I'm just not doing it correctly. So your mileage may vary there. But otherwise, the interface is pretty nice. I'm actually looking at it on my computer right now. Basic bar across the bottom. You got your launcher in the lower left. System utility information on the lower right. And, it looks pretty much like every other Linux distribution you've ever seen at this point. Now, it does have a ton of ham radio software installed by default. However, it's missing some key stuff, or what I would think is key stuff. Now, Bill just said that there's a reason that it's missing these key things, and I'm curious to hear what your reason is.
First off, I just want to go back to your auto start thing. So did you actually go into the LXQt session settings and go in there and add it to your auto start?
I did it command line.
Oh, well, that's what you get for doing it the command line way. When a user should probably use the GUI utilities for that. So there actually is two different auto start sections for LXQt, and you can find it directly in the LXQt session settings in the auto start section. So that might solve your barrier problems.
It might. I'm going to check it out. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. So the CQR log is not on there, but strangely enough, MariaDB is. I find that very curious because if you go to try to install, if you install the CQR log package that actually is in the repo, it's pretty old. Let me look at the version here real quick one more time. I believe it's like
252.
No, it should be older than that, isn't it?
I didn't have to install CQR log, and that's what I got.
Oh, really? No, that's interesting. 252. Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm actually connected to this computer. It's 252. That's what's starting.
Okay, all fine. But I see that it also wants to install MySQL Server, so it's going to try to uninstall MySQL Server. So in order to get this to install, you will have to install CQR log, and then once again install MariaDB Server, and then you will have CQR log because it's stupid. Totally broken. But I noticed I was looking at some other logs, and they were definitely older, but I could be wrong. Maybe that was a K log, only because I had just used it, and it was the much newer version that I downloaded for my particular use. But anyway, so I'm assuming that since it won't work directly out of the box, at least the way they have it set up here, and they probably haven't had anybody request that it actually be functional. Be functional after it's installed. That's probably why, because it has the package is the broke inside of Ubuntu, because it is requiring MySQL, which it shouldn't. So now if I do, I'm just going to do this in reverse order. MariaDB server. We'll just see if it actually will allow me to overwrite that real quick. Looks like it will. We'll see if it works out of the box so we can get a runs for sure CQR log. Okay, so fast internet.
Worked for me.
With MySQL or with MariaDB?
I'm looking to see which one's actually installed because it looks like parts of both are.
Okay. So now it definitely does not work with MariaDB server. So anyway, ignore all of that. So yours is using MySQL and it is working.
Yes.
For sure. Okay, cool. All right. Well, don't follow the instructions you need for every other single operating system. This one actually will work with MySQL, which is pretty peculiar. But yeah, it is strange that there isn't a lot of loggers on there, and I don't think the idea for this OS is for that kind of use. It looks more specific towards SDR operation. If you look at all of the SDR applications that are included with this, which is, oh my gosh, so many. Including our favorites like SDR++, SDR Angel. There's a bunch of other applications that I really haven't even looked at. So I've kind of been going through them and trying to see exactly what each one does, because there apparently is a lot more applications out there that do interesting bits of SDR stuff that you may or may not be interested in. And if you're looking for exploring SDR applications of various types and stuff like that, this is definitely a distro to kind of look at, to dive into all of the various applications that are out there in that space. And I think you're going to talk a little bit more about them down in the notes I see here.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about them a lot because there's a lot of stuff that I don't even know what it does, but this is definitely a distribution, and I'm pretty sure they make it clear in the documentation that it's a SDR friendly distro. It definitely focuses on that as its space. So it has applications for SDR and GNU radio that I have never seen before. And it also has Tempest SDR, which is an SDR application I had not seen before. It looks a lot like the other ones, but it also has things like GQRX and SDR Angel. And even SDR++. Yeah. Spark SDR. Wow. Am I aware of that one? I don't know. I'm firing it up now to see if I've ever seen it before.
No,
what else do we have?
Because I was looking for the notes on that one myself a little bit earlier. I was like, what does that one do?
Yeah, it's pretty much it's similar to the other ones, but it also does JTS JT9 and stuff like that. So apparently this is focused on SDRs for WSJTX type stuff, not your RTL SDRs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like to me. It looked kind of like a multi-slice, multi-band SDR / WSJT type connector. Because if you look at some of the notes, it tells you how to set it up with your Hermes, which of course is a transmitting SDR. And then of course you can use it still with some SDR plays, which are receive onlys. But I believe this one is set up to do some transmitting. So it's definitely an interesting little application. I haven't, like I say, I haven't really played into it much besides just kind of drifting through the release notes and the help notes of the application.
Yeah, and I noticed that there's also a bunch of stuff in here that is sort of tangentially related to SDRs, like things you might want to listen to on SDRs that a lot of other distributions like ours, for example, don't have access to, which are things like ADSB. There's a bunch of different applications for ADSB. There's also things for monitoring like cell phone networks, trunking scanners, stuff along those lines. A lot of receiver type things that might be of interest to people who have an SDR for doing listening. And let's see. Then there's also a lot of standard ham radio applications like we would think of, like FL Digi and WSJTX and FL Rig and that sort of stuff that isn't necessarily SDR specific, but they're in there. But the fact that those are in there, but the loggers aren't, kind of makes me wonder. And then there's lots of utilities about GNU Radio. There's like the GNU Radio companion, and I saw like GNU Radio modules. Mm-hmm. There's also some security related stuff in here, I guess you would say, like SDR trunk and RF crack, RF tools, Blues Who for scanning Bluetooth. So there's a lot of things that have to do with the radio spectrum in here that are sort of all over the place and not necessarily related to amateur radio. What's this Osmo thing?
Osmo GMR. Osmocom FFT. LTE sniffer. That looks like a bunch of command line utilities.
Yeah, which is weird. They put the command line utilities into the menu, so it opens up a terminal and then does nothing. So,
well, you're in the directory where they all are, so you can just ls in there. And then just like the M17 tools, you're going to get the M17 dmod, mod GUI, gateway link mod, and all that other tools directly in the directory.
Yeah, absolutely. Just not real smooth, I guess. Open BTS. What's that? Open BTS. Let me run it here. See what happens. Permission denied. Screw that.
You've been denied.
Permission to access the database. Database failure. Is there a man page? Open BTS.
Oh, you just got to sudo it, right? Starting the system. Oh, encrypting your drive. Oh no.
Wiping your partition.
Yeah, it looks like it's a transceiver application of some sort, but I have no device for it. So
yeah, and I don't as well. It's written in C++, whatever it is.
And there's no manual for it, so there you go. That's BTS. Yes. Way to go. Documentation. Open BTS. Let's see.
In the other folder, there's just so much stuff. LTE sniffer, Kismet, Meta GPSD, whatever that is, SRS RAN.
So Open BTS is a software-based GSM access point, allowing standard GSM compatible mobile phones to be used as SIP endpoints in a voice over IP network. So really interesting. Still.
Yeah, so anything that's apparently related, however tangentially, to the radio spectrum has a utility here.
Yeah.
What's BTLE? Let's see. BLE sniffer. What's BLE?
That's Bluetooth, isn't it?
Bluetooth low energy. I see. So there's a sniffer for that. Thanks, whoever was in the chat, Bill, for who did DragonOS? It wasn't you, Bill, was it? We're not dissing on you, are we? Who wrote DragonOS?
DragonOS, let's say. It's not like documented or anything here.
origin story. There's an origin story.
There is.
On source Scourge. Yeah, there's let's see.
Scourge.
Vocals developer SEMA Executor. Is that a real name? Something about Kali Linux, software defined radio. The name that shows up is SEMA Executor. CEMAXECUTER, which doesn't sound like a real name to me, but that's also the website.
Totally legit. So download this and run this as your primary OS. You guys will be fine.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
It's still pretty cool. It doesn't matter. It's such a nice collection of software altogether that it just really shows that you can definitely build a very nuanced and I want to say niche or a boutique OS for your hobby. And this sort of checks all the boxes except for being the full Shack-puter, I think, because it'll be missing the logs and stuff like that being built in. Which would save you at least one step, but obviously you can install CQR log without doing any shenanigans with the database. But I'm not sure, since MariaDB was installed and it puts MySQL there instead, if that breaks anything that's already reliant on MariaDB. So that might be an issue, because I don't know what package depended on MariaDB being there, which is odd. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to connect to it anyway. Let's see. If I connect to MariaDB, it should just work, right? If it's going to work.
Well, that's if it's up, because generally it's not up, because it's only ran for files, so it only runs the binary against the file socket.
Server connect failed.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably not running.
Well, that's true. Let me check the system status. Isn't live radio. Great. Let's see. System control status. MySQL server.
Fix it in post.
Loaded inactive. Yeah, it's dead. It's dead, Jim. Doesn't work.
Dead. I'm a systems analyst, not a doctor.
Okay, so yeah, apparently it suffers from the same issue that all CQR logs installs suffer from. So
yeah, but I mean, like MySQL does not run all the time for CQR log.
Oh, it just brings it up when it comes up?
When it comes up, it starts just the session to run against the files located in the user directory. Because the server won't run off of files in the user directory. The AppArmor prevents that and everything else. So
AppArmor, bane of my existence. Okay.
So we don't have to go there.
No, that can be another deep dive. Well, actually, that'll be a short deep dive. Just remove it. Oh, the longest time. What was it about AppArmor? I was trying to write a log file for bind. I was trying to write bind query log.
Oh, okay.
To some place other than like var log bind, and it's like, oh, you can't do that. That's
Yeah,
he's not impressed with that. But anyway, let's not jump into AppArmor. That's a whole different can of pain.
So let's see. You found that WFView was not installed in here. That does not surprise me. I don't think it's quite long in the tooth enough. And then it's also very individual hardware specific. But it probably won't be very long before that would be included in stuffs.
Yeah, probably not. And I think with the more availability of storage on single board computers at this point, I don't think they're particularly concerned, the developer, with how much space the installation is taken up. So yeah, they'll probably just add stuff as things are necessary or come to their attention, I suppose. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, it is very SDR heavy and radio spectrum heavy. Not necessarily within the purview of amateur radio, but it might be things that are adjacent that ham radio enthusiasts might be also interested in, like airplane telemetry. And it does have a satellite tracker, it does have gpredict, so obviously that might come in handy for SDR listening as well, if you want to hear the birds as they go over and so forth. So anything else specific that you noticed about it?
Not specifically. I mean, it's definitely not something I would have jumped on myself, but I think it does provide a lot of utilities. I am just running right now just the ham radio pure blend package list against it, and going to install that and see how much that breaks it while we talk about it some more to see what else this is going to add. Because
That's
obviously
as you were saying that, I was typing apt install, caret ham radio dash star.
You were doing the same thing.
It is doing it right now. It is actually installing things as we talk. Hopefully it's not like screwing with my recording, but
Oh, I hope not. I hope mine's not either, but who knows? So you don't have like all the stuff you would find in like Andy's ham radio Linux. So it's definitely not the same kind of setup. So it's not like you would want one versus the other. Yes, we'll just start that. I don't care. And we'll see how. I'll tell you if the audio interfaces go away, which that's always a fun one.
I can tell you that I can tell you that all the APRS stuff is not included, and I can also tell you that FreeDV was not included. So, because I was watching all the stuff that was installing, and those were two notable ones that went by. Although now it's installing SVX Link, so it's going to have all of those problems.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm not going to restart mine, but in order to bring DragonOS up to an everything kind of ham radio install, you would want to go ahead and tap that pure blend package list, because obviously it does fill in a lot of gaps, including some rig control stuff like G-Rig will be in there, FreeDV, G-Predict, all the Direwolf stuff, like you said. Of course, Qtel for Echo Link. Actually, that'll also install Xlog and some PyQSO. So a couple of log programs for you. So, and WFU. How about that? That's actually in the pure blend packages now. You could definitely supplement your DragonOS right quickly without much effort with a single command line. And you would be kind of off to the races, I think, if you kind of wanted something that has a low visual impact to your system. Again, we're all guilty of running hardware that should probably be in the dumpster, not necessarily still running our ham radio shack. But hey, this kind of OS is perfect for that kind of deal where you have, Gen 1, Gen 2, i5, something like that, i3, whatever. You probably could survive off of this with minimal loss of impact.
As I said, I'm running it on an Atom-based computer. It's working fine. So if you're running an i3, you're going to be blazing.
Is it even done installing all those?
It's about 70% through. So
mine's done.
Well, of course. I mean, but I was watching.
Yeah, it's a virtual machine.
Yeah, DX cluster. Actually, Qt SDR was not included.
Oh, it was. I saw it on there.
Maybe it's a newer version in the ham pure blend or something.
Possible. Yeah, it's quite possible because Qt. I was thinking Cubic. Sorry,
no,
Cubic was on there.
Was not included. Like I said, all the APRS stuff, all the loggers, all the DX cluster clients, all of that stuff's getting installed right now. All the antenna stuff, the modelers, like NEC2C and stuff like that. None of that stuff was in there. None of Ted's software was in there. All the TW stuff is getting installed. So boo. Yeah. Let's see. It's just about done here, though. Let's see.
Yeah, Quisk, bunch of other stuff. Tuknak, Zaster's in there now. XDX, Xlog. Yeah, all the good stuff. Ham exam, FCC exam. You can definitely supplement this and kind of turn that frown upside down on your SDR only package.
Yep. Well, I mean, there was some other stuff other than SDR related things, but it was kind of very picky choosy kind of stuff that was in there. And if you just install the pure blend packages, it kind of fills in all those gaps. So that's nice. All right. Oh, and the last thing I had on my bullet notes here was the fact that on this computer, and apparently no other that I've ever used in the past, I did just a basic apt install XRDP on the server, and it worked out of the box. Actually, I was actually able to connect to it with my Mac's Windows, remote desktop client, and it brought up the LXQt interface and everything. No weirdness, no strange logins, no goofiness. It just had a desktop and it was ready to go. So awesome! If you want to get straight RDP access into your DragonOS, it just works.
Did it toy around with the audio devices at all?
Probably. But I'm not worried about the audio devices. I'm just, it's not like this is going to be my Shack PC. So,
Yeah, you're just testing, but it could possibly mess
It
with
could, I suppose, but then I'd have to install it on a Mac, and I guess that would work. I would have to try it because my Shack PC is Mac running Linux. So, but it's running Ubuntu, so I guess there's no reason why I couldn't run DragonOS.
Oh yeah, it is Ubuntu too. So
it is Ubuntu too. That's very good.
Ubuntu too.
All right.
So now I'm interested in your LHS readiness score, considering you just bolstered it with all this fine ham radio goodness of applications.
Okay, so I'll say, like, out of the box, considering some of the clunkiness that I noticed, some of the esoteric application selection and things like that, I would give it like a 3.8 sort of out of the box ham readiness score. If you subsequently install the Ham Radio Pure Blend, I would definitely give it like a 4.5. So
okay, and that seems that's pretty on par with any Ubuntu-based system. So just because you can get it to sort of this point. Now, I do have to say, I think it deserves a few extra points for bringing in some very esoteric packages that are very germane to RF spectrum that we wouldn't technically know about because we're not technically interested in that stuff. So I think that's deserving of some bonus points at least.
I'll give it a half a point for potentially generating show content. How about that?
There you go. So 4.55.
Exactly.
So it's definitely interesting. It's definitely super zippy and fast. I can't really complain about it. I did run it in two different places, but unfortunately these are identical machines, so they both run it extremely fast. So I think I have it running with 16 gigs of RAM in the VM with the 8 processors. So yeah.
And Darren asked if it has VNC installed by default, and the answer is no, it does not. So he's taking off a point for that.
No. Well, I've never seen a system with VNC installed. I mean, if you had GNOME, technically it sort of installs VNC, maybe, if you don't have Wayland. Yeah.
I guess I can give it an extra 1/10 of a point for using Xorg.
Raspbian does, Ubuntu for Pi doesn't. Yeah, it probably should by default in the at least in the Raspberry Pi image, just because of the nature of the beast. But we haven't tried that, so I can't say that they did or did not install it. I mean, it could possibly be installed in the Raspberry Pi because it's not in the same line, obviously. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
Dragon.
Okay, well, as far as an operating system for ham radio use, I don't really have much else to say about it. I mean, if you've ever used an Ubuntu-based ham radio distribution or an Ubuntu-based distribution for ham radio, you're going to find it all pretty convenient. And if you've ever used or happen to be a fan of LXQt, then it's going to be right in your wheelhouse. So,
this is an indication here. I'm just checking the package list on the Raspberry Pi version, and it does have VNC installed because it has real VNC client installed, and that is not installed in the desktop version. So there's a possibility in the Raspberry Pi version it is most likely installed.
Well, that's good. So I actually thought about that from the perspective of a computer that's not likely or more likely to run headless. So
yeah, Darren gave half a point back. There you go.
I gave a half a point back. Excellent. It probably would have been useful for us, or for one of us at least, to have attempted to install this on Raspberry Pi to see how it differed. But us being who we are, that didn't happen. So
yeah, that takes just a wee bit more effort than we're ready to put into it. Give us another 5 weeks on this project. We might remember to do that. I'd have to actually find mine. I don't even know where mine is.
Mine's in a box next to me. I know it's here somewhere. So
ever since I had one doing something important and it died, I have basically unplugged them all, and I don't trust any of them. But however, we've had this Odroid for 5 years now, and it still is running and still doing its job as a central home management tool. So go for Odroid, not Pis.
Yeah, my Raspberry Pis are running my 3 Retrocades, and I've never had a problem with them. So It is what it is. Oh, and it's also running all my my Sherrys and my Bryans and my stuff for All Star and Pi Star and all that stuff. And I've got 4 of those powered up doing that, and they've never failed either. So,
well, that's not real ham radio.
Whatever. We're going to go back on that train. Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just. You're just lucky. You're lucky I haven't had one. Those are not Pi 4s, though, right?
Some of them are. I have two Pi 4s, a few Pi 3s, and a few Pi 2s. So, and I even have a Pi 1. Oh, no. I got rid of the Pi 1, but I had a Pi 1 that was running the thing, that mode that I won't run anymore.
Yeah, I had two Pi 4s, and one of them failed, so I consider them both failed. So that's just me. That's my personal experience. I can't trust them again because, what it was doing was kind of important.
Fair enough. Well, there's so many other options out there now, and ones that are actually more available than Raspberry Pis anyway. So I guess
I have many PCs in those places now. So
right,
and they run flawlessly.
So, all right. Well, the dogs are getting wound up, so I should probably go ahead and try and wrap this show up before things get crazy.
Oh, yeah. You're getting excited.
Yes. Something is going on. But anyway, that's DragonOS. Hopefully a nice little deep dive into it. And if I would say it's better than average for sure for distribution. And if you want to use it for ham radio, it's certainly a thing you can do. We just suggest adding the ham radio pure blend packages and you'll be good to go. And with that, I don't have any announcements and feedback. I went through my email. I didn't see anything. And I checked various social media platforms. I didn't see anything either. So hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, I'll make sure to get it on the next show. Do you have anything to announce?
Nothing from my end, no.
All right. Oh, Pi Zeros. Yeah, I forgot about Pi Zeros. Those are a thing. I don't have any of those. But oh, no, I take that back. A couple of my my little embedded Pi Stars are running on Pi Zeros. But
fancy.
I didn't build those. I just ordered them off Amazon. So. All right. Well, with that means we only have one thing left, and that's our new subscribers, supporters, and live participants. And since we've been off the air, as it were, for a couple of weeks, we have a pretty good list here. So let's get down through it. On subscribers and Patreons, we had a couple of new ones: John Julian and Ken Betania, something like that. You know who you are. Thank you for your financial support. We really appreciate that. And on the other social media networks, on Facebook, we have Matthew Lardy, Frank Jenkins, John Julian, also. So cool. Nothing on Twitter. So are we calling Twitter X, or are we not riding that train? Or I
sort of X now, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to call it Twitter for now. And since nobody's signing up, I think everyone's like bailing on Twitter.
Twixer.
So, yeah, something like that. Anyway, on YouTube, we had a few: Don Saw, Matthias Grino, and Byron Pangburn. We had a few folks show up on Discord: Zero Day, Mojo KD9YPK, Mullet, Saxa, and VA7WY. Nobody on Instagram. On Mastodon, we had at SAXA1N, at KB9LXH, at KD4WOV, at EI6KW, at Jorn Franke, at NO7E, and at Rick TRSWE. No merchandise sales. Had a few folks sign up on the mailing list: Dale Farnsworth, KK7LPM, KY4HJ, Ray McGavran, and W7JPJ. And in the live chat tonight, we had a really good crowd. We had Darren, VK60K, Ted, WA0EIR, Bill, N3AJ, Don, KB2YSI, Steve, K7HVT, John, K1BTZ, and Winston, KD2WLL. And they're all fired up about evils of Raspberry Pis, evils of Twitter.
Yes. They're all conspiracy Pi users. There you go.
All right. Well, that is all we have. We are down to the end of the program. We want to thank everybody for listening live, for supporting the show, whether you do so financially or just by listening every week, or mentioning us on the social media platforms or whatever, or in your ham club meeting. We always appreciate the word of mouth. And with that, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up this deep dive episode, number 513 of Linux and the Ham Shack on DragonOS. And we'll catch you in a week with our short topics episode. Catch you all then. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. For the, can't get in my office, Cheryl, W5MOO, I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD 73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Our website is located at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast by visiting the LHS Patreon page at patreon.com/LHS Podcast, or by using the contribute list on the homepage. We have a presence on Discord, Facebook, IRC, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also drop us an email at info@lhspodcast.info or leave us a voicemail at 1-909-LHS-SHOW. That's 1-909-547-7469. Visit the online LHS merchandise store at shop.lhspodcast.info for fun and fashionable show-themed merchandise. Until next time, remember to always heed your hedonism.